First of all, I'm very pleased to be here and to have received this invitation because it's really an honor to share our experiences and our current activity in order to have an interesting debate, especially in the panel that will follow my intervention. I put together in this speech some data and some hints about the possibility to engage young, innovative skills with industry. That is, to my experience, one of the best ways to catalyze the growth of an innovative economy. So, if I can, have my presentation. I will start with some data, but please do not worry about that because I will not go through figures, only knowing that is the first speech after the lunchtime, so the risk of falling asleep is very high. So, okay. So I want to start from this. I don't know if you are familiar with the DAISY index that has been released in the latest version just last July. Is the key indicator coming from a set of almost 30 parameters that the European Commission measure in order to understand the way in which the digital savviness and the digital economy is growing in any of the member states and as average in the EU. And as you can easily understand, any column is made of 4 main areas. And you can see, and this is the key message I want you take home from this figure, that there is a large difference among, especially, and I will tell, the first 2 positions are Finland and Denmark, so the Northern Europe to the Eastern and Southern Europe still, even though the 80%, that is the basic global indicator for basic digital skills in terms of percentage of population that have a minimum set of competencies in Europe is still far, even for the Nordic countries. These are the building block of the DAISY index. I want you just to focus on the number 1 and number 3. Number 1 is human capital, and is not a case. And human capital is measured with several parameters, but the 3 basic line, and these documents are available, and I find that these researchers are very interesting to set also an observatory, a dashboard, also in your country, in terms of basic digital skills that are considered the basic common patrimony, let's say, of competencies that any citizen should have. The presence of ICT, let's say, young ICT specialists, and the female ICT specialists, because still, especially in the ICT world, there is a big, I would say huge, I would say gender issue. And the item number 3 about the integration of digital technologies in business processes, especially with an eye to SMEs, that we all know are 97–98% of our economy, talking about Europe in terms of average dimension of any company. So about the human capital, again, just to give you a flavor, you can see there is a large difference from the Nordic countries to the Eastern and Southern Europe countries, and considering that EU is the average value, and the EU is a little bit above 50%. And consider that the objective for 2030 is 80%. You can imagine how much, and you can also understand better why the European Commission is investing so much, even with a new program that is named Digital Europe on the digital transformation. And about the human capital, what is measured is also the presence of ICT specialists in Europe. And you see that from 2013, in 8 years, we passed from almost 6 million to a figure, let's say, about a little less than 9 million. But it is esteemed that the basic need in 2030 in Europe will be at least 20 million of innovative young ICT specialists. So you can easily understand how aware each one of us can be of the shortage of ICT specialists and the mismatch that we have on the labor market talking about ICT specialists. To finish with figures, especially the three main areas in the digital transformation nowadays are currently coded as the cloud technologies, AI, so anything about artificial intelligence, and big data. And you see that the average of the European SME using these three innovative and, let's say, cutting-edge digital technologies are figures very poor. Artificial intelligence is a little less than 10%. That even get closer to these technologies. And I don't know if you are familiar with this digital compass. It's basically the manifesto that the European Commission made about the digital transformation and how they vision embodies, let's say, the digital Europe in less than 10 years. And you see that starts from skills, digital skills, and there are other big topics that are also object of this summit, like the cybersecurity that we know is crucial, and the digitalization of public services, and so on. And I think also, if you Google Digital Compass from the European Commission, you can assess several very interesting ideas, comments, and visions that can be useful also to finalize some reasoning. So, in one word, we can say that it is a huge challenge, both for us as citizens, both for us as companies and businessmen. So, which is the model? This is the question that they ask me, that in our experience is the most, let's say, useful to engage innovative skills and especially young and, in many cases, small businesses. And I find that the open innovation model that has been coded by a Berkeley professor, that is named Henry Chesborough, in 2004, so it has almost 20 years, is really the moment. Because open innovation basically starts, I don't know if you are familiar with this, but I tried to make use this figure. Basically, starts from the funnel figure. The funnel is representing in the innovation world the typical innovation process. And this professor said that we just make some holes in this funnel, and we make the typical small company permeable to innovative knowledge, innovative technologies that are brought by other companies, but also by young people, young specialists, and the idea after the COVID is not that positive word, but the contamination of ideas and technology is the key to competitiveness, especially for small companies. And ICT and digitalization are the way. So, as you see, the idea basically is to acquire innovative technologies, competencies idea, in order also to reach other market, maybe to create spin-offs, startups, in order to have a very, focused organization. And there are opportunity, just a note, I will make these slides available, so you have no problem in taking note, for any area of your business, in order to test, for example, a new technology dealing with startups, digital startups, and prototype in a very short time a business idea, just to understand, for example, if that technology, it makes your case, or just to understand in 3 months' time project, maybe, if that technology doesn't fit to your business idea. You need to change, because what we need now is a faster capacity of reaction, basically. So this is something that I put just to understand which is and which is not open innovation vision. I will not go through any item, but just to give you the idea that the basic assumption is you have to understand and to focus which are your core competencies, where you are really competitive on the market, and concentrate on them. And to take the best of breed, as English people say, from the market, defining this kind of a very fluid organization in order to utilize and to be very fast in prototyping ideas, to understand how your business could evolve in a very fast evolving and competitive scenario. But, and this is the second reflection, open innovation doesn't occur by itself. Needs for a local ecosystem. And also this is a metaphor that we take from nature, but that figure is taken by an official document of the European Commission, where you do not have a square figure. It's very fluid, the borderline, but as you see, you have a collaboration model in which the government, the public sector, the university, so the research world, the private research as well, the investor, the funding system can collaborate, the industrial player can collaborate in order to make this sparkle. The business incubator, I didn't introduce myself, I'm running the main innovation agency and a business incubator in the Venice region, and the incubator, being an incubator, we follow more than 70 innovative and digital startups in Italy, are really a very rich possibility to interact with the young, innovative, ICT, savvy, and specialist skill and people for typical SME. And this process is called matchmaking, and matchmaking can occur only in an open innovation situation. Yeah, and this is a typical figure for matchmaking. Just having, for example, if you are a businessman, an entrepreneur, take in account to invest a couple of hours to see a couple of start-uppers that are dealing with innovative technologies that seems to be interesting for you, and to pitch them, to have their pitch, just to understand if this could be give you room for experimenting with them. I'm not meaning you have to buy that startup. This can come it's another question. But it's a typical win-win situation because you test and prototype something you can understand if a technology fastly evolving can be interesting for you, but also the startupper can understand really what is the market, can work with established companies, can enter different markets. So, and these are, in general, not big such investment or big effort of time. So this takes, starts from an ancient African proverb. To raise a, this takes a village to raise a child, but it takes an ecosystem to scale innovation. And in this figure that I like, you have all the different players, actors of an innovative ecosystem playing along an ideal timeline their role. And to some extent is exactly the metaphor of the quadruple helix that the European Commission talking about ecosystem presented some years ago. And the innovation ecosystem is also where the technological transfer process can occur, because we know well that the small entrepreneur talk a language that is different from a university researcher. You need to intermediate, to facilitate this dialogue, and also you need to have, for example, some basic skills that usually the small company do not have, like the IP, that to my eyes is the grammar by which you can talk the research language, to respect the intellectual property and to get value from that. And this is also the other way around, to valorize the research that any entrepreneur does in his own company. This is very linked to the, I know that there are other panels in which they will talk about much better about the digital innovation hubs. This is our role also by the European Commission in our region. And as you can see, I put this figure just to give you confirmation about what I'm saying. You can find the four main reasons for which we are Digital Innovation Hub. You can see that are very closely linked to the aim to create an innovation ecosystem. To finish with, I want to give you just some indication about what is innovation nowadays. I don't know if you are familiar with this acronym VUCA, that is somehow resembling the main characteristics of the difficult times we are living. And on the other side, I put what is needed to somehow respond to these that are exogenous characteristics. So these are, let's say, soft skills or other kind of skills. So my invitation is to understand why you need to focus not only on technical skills, but this, especially in the company, to have the capacity of problem solving and fast reaction in difficult situation on the markets will be more and more the key competencies you need. To finish with another couple of ideas, they call it twin transition. No, we already talked about digital transformation, but after the COVID in particular, we have been seeing that the green transition is something that we are a lot late with. So the basic point is to understand how green and digital are, to me, the same one, because with no digital technology, you will not have any transition to the sustainability. So, and this is something that brings us to also to this figure in order to give you the idea. I mean, because when you say digital skills, you know, it's a very large one, no? So to finish with, I find that these 4 areas, the connectivity for 5G, 6G, robotics, process automation, the entering on robotics. When I say robotics, I say also drones and other way to automate your processes. Big data, so anything is related to big data and IoT, and moreover, artificial intelligence are the 4 main digital areas that will be also crucial to implement the environmental challenge that all we have in managing and giving boost to the green transition. So I think I will be punctual, so I finish now my speech, and I invite the panelists that will follow me just to understand, and if you have, if you can reason a little bit about the maturity also in your area and how companies are facing, or they didn't do it yet, I don't know, especially in this sense, the digital transformation. Thanks, and I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santolamazza, for your speech. I invite the moderator, Veronika Tasic, the panelist, Gabriela Kostovska Bogoeska, the other panelist, Ivan Lupic, Valentina Dubolovich, panelist, and Zana Tabaku, panelist.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much to the hosts and the organizers for having this room full, having impeccable tech working on our side, which sort of fits also the topic of the summit. Thank you to the audience. Particular thanks to the first row. You are the bravest. But thank you also to the other ones. We very much appreciate you spending the afternoon here. We are up for a 50 to 60-minute discussion on a very hot topic, which is basically the digital skills and how industry can get engaged in accelerating the acquisition of those digital skills in our region. I'm Veronika. I'm from Belgrade, Serbia. I'm a successfully recovered management consultant, now working in strategic advisory. For the previous 20 years, I worked throughout West Balkan 6, Southeast Europe, whatever you want to call it, so a bit wider region. And the skills of the people have always been a hot topic. So CEOs and aspiring entrepreneurs and policymakers, whoever I had a chance to talk to, they were always concerned with the skills. But it's never been such a burning topic, like the hottest of topics, as it is nowadays. The people on the panel today are experts in their own field. All of them have a lot to say on the digital skills and how we as industry can support. I know that we have a lot of successful companies here and a lot of development agencies here who are looking to support acquisition of digital skills, not only for their own sake, of course, companies need to be profitable, but for the sake of the community, of the society and the economy. So I congratulate to everyone who is already doing great work. And you know, whatever work you are doing, it is great because somebody has to do it and has to start from somewhere. And we'll be hearing today from I think we will start with Gabriela. We will be hearing today from Gabriela a little bit on how industry can support, or how industry can be supported. Perhaps we need to understand also different perspectives. So, Gabriela, you come from Skopje, North Macedonia, and in my understanding you've been working a lot with industries, but also with entrepreneurs, particularly on developing entrepreneurship and innovation. So what can you tell us about that?
Good afternoon from my side as well. Thank you, Veronika. Thank you very much for the very inspiring start of the panel. Indeed, the skills are the hot topic nowadays, and especially when it comes to the digital transformation as well. As Veronika introduced me, I'm coming from Skopje, from Macedonia. Today I'm in my capacity as president of the board of directors of the first and the largest ICT business incubator in the country. We started back in 2005, so as you can imagine, things have been changing since then. And we are very much working in a similar area like Roberto presented his organization. So a business incubator supporting ICT companies. And I used to be a CEO of this business incubator for many years before I move on to the board. So I do have my hands dirty when it comes to really working with scale-ups and startups in the digital sphere. I would like to emphasize one aspect that Roberto already mentioned in his presentation when it comes to technology transfer. I'm a technology transfer expert since 2008. I have been working on many, many different assignments and issues concerning this aspect. And for me, that's one of the core things that we need to, one of the key instruments for moving towards better digitalization and improving our scores in the indicator number 3, if I'm not mistaken, Roberto, the indicator from DESI. And here I would like to emphasize two important aspects. Somehow I have a feeling that when we talk about technology transfer, usually we talk about vertical technology transfer. Going from the public research, from basic research to applied research. And somewhat on the way, we forgot about horizontal technology transfer, which is adopting technologies across sectors, between the companies. And this is where our focus in the future should be, especially in the Western Balkans. We used to, in 2020, together with the Ministry of Economy, we did a study on these aspects in Macedonia, and we realized that one of the key aspects is skills. Do we have the right skills on both ends of the technology offer and technology demander, and do we have the right skills to do the technology transfer? And what we realized in between is the role of digital innovation hubs. Digital innovation hubs should be really, really emphasized when it comes to the horizontal technology transfer. So I do strongly support this type of initiative. You may call it the way you want, but an initiative that supports the horizontal technology transfer. And in that sense, I would just like to emphasize one more thing, is that at the moment we are working together, we are working for the European Training Foundation on a project in the 6 Western Balkan countries, where we are looking at the skills for the technology transfer. And this will be a very interesting study, a very interesting results. The results will be published in January, February next year. And I think it will be a very, very nice basis for the future programs at regional, but also at country level, so that we can take up and see where we really stand when it comes to skills on both sides. Companies, training providers, education, not to forget that, but that will be the topic on the next panel. So if I need to start with something, I will start with the horizontal technology transfer and how we support that between the IT companies, but also between the manufacturing industry and all the other sectors.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. Valentina, I would like to ask you something. Valentina joins us from Podgorica, Montenegro, and she looks very simple, but she's not. She actually has 3 hats. One is the corporate hat, because she's left Deutsche Telekom company in Montenegro fairly recently. And another one is the hat of an educator. And the third hat is the hat of an entrepreneur. So we heard from Gabriela about horizontal technology transfer and the need for skills, not only with employees, with young people, but obviously also with established companies. What can you tell us about your 3 perspectives? Where could we start from? Or which one of the roles that you had or are having now can have the most profound impact on the digital skills in our countries?
Thank you, Veronika, for a great introduction. I'm really pleased to be part of this panel since this topic is really the hot one, as others said. So I would focus today on these two points of view, and I believe that this is the crucial that we somehow merge them and make them to collaborate. One portion is this industry, is these corporations where I used to work 17 years on leadership positions, leading IT and tech people. And another point is what I'm doing currently is actually educating and mentoring youngsters as well as kids about digital skills. So I really believe that the answer to the question is not in one, but in intensive collaboration of an industry and education, or actually academy. Since I am mathematician, I like to say that all the time and emphasize I'm a mathematician, I believe, by my birth and also by my education. I like to act always and to play with figures and facts. And I would just mention a few surveys that were recently happened in Montenegro and a little bit broader. One of them is made by UNDP recently, a few years ago, and 81% of the participants in the survey that were our citizens, that were representatives from academia, representatives from the industry, ICT companies, were saying that our educational system is too traditional, too slow, not enough agile to be as quick as ICT era is developing. That is one point. And now I'm not talking just about providing skills to the youngsters, ICT skills, but also using ICT as a technology in order to gain ICT skills. Another survey that was conducted for our region, for Balkan region, two years ago, I believe, it is saying actually that ICT companies, that vertical industries, telcos, and similar ones are lacking experts, have so many issues when they want to employ new people with the skills in the ICT. I would now mention just that we are in Montenegro preparing for example, for introducing 5G. We do not have enough experts in this area. And that is actually where I believe, Veronika, that we should somehow merge this and that we should somehow actually have this shift in our heads in a way that we used to say that it's all about, you know, universities, academia, they are too traditional. They are, in a way. I really believe that they are, especially in our area. But still, industry should be a driver, should drive initiative, should drive demand towards academia, as well, not just formal one, but also to these educational centers, these non-formal ways of education, in order that they are aware what type of personnel they should produce in order that in industry they have enough staff and that they are really staffed. That is mainly what I believe that we should have bear in mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valentina. Amazing. I quite like one of your points, but I will first announce Ivan and then we will go to your point because I think Ivan will have a lot to add on that. So Ivan Lupic is joining us from Zagreb, Croatia. I think it was quite a long drive, flight and everything else. Ivan is actually one of the leaders in one of the biggest technology companies in Southeast Europe, Ericsson Nikola Tesla. If I remember right, 3,500 employees, yes. R&D center for Ericsson, which is based in your company, and quite many programs which you have, in my understanding, with the academia, yeah. to address the do you actually have any skill gaps? Can you really find qualified students and employees easily? You can.
Well, there are different perspectives to this topic, of course, and I have heard several things that resonate well with what we are actually trying to do. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, we have a big R&D center of around 1,800 people, the biggest in the region, second biggest in the Ericsson in the EU after Sweden. So we have experts working around the world on complex projects for different customers. So yeah, we have a problem. We need competent people, we need skilled people. That's quite literally all that we have, is the people who have knowledge and who have skills. And we have a problem to get them. And it's two things, actually. The first thing is, as you have seen from the presentation before, the EU lacks 12 million people in the next decade in the ICT. So the first challenge is to keep the people in Croatia. And when they decide to stay in Croatia, the second challenge is, of course, to get them to join our company. So yeah, you can imagine it's quite a challenge. But we are doing, I think, all that we can. We are doing a lot of things. First, to refer to your point, we are working a lot with the universities. In Croatia, we have very good universities. People who come out are competent, but we want to stop them from leaving Croatia and give them a good opportunity to join a company who is a global ICT company where they can work on innovative projects. So we are working a lot with the academia on research projects. We have people visiting and giving lectures there. We have at any given point in our company more than 200 people, 200 students from the universities who are working on real projects to get a feel about what it really is. We have a summer camp, which is not new these days, but it's, I think, the oldest, if not one of the oldest in the region. It's now 21 years and running. More than 900 students, more than 400 projects, 150 mentors have been in this summer camp project of 5 weeks, where we have people from the university from all around the region, from Vienna, I think, to here. And they are working on real projects, and it's a process where we select the most innovative projects for them to do in those 5 weeks. Actually, one fun thing is that, one really cool thing is that we have an area, a strategic area, which is really important for us, and we are proud of that. This is the digitalization of e-health. This whole business area for us started as a summer camp project. And then it was followed up by commercial projects where we are also now exporting this knowledge and these solutions. After that, of course, we have an onboarding program for the students, like a mini boot camp. We work together with them through mentors, through contact points with those students. So it's a whole structure, people dedicated to the topic of attracting and retaining people. That is, I think it is inevitable to do something like that if you want to be successful.
Thank you very much, Ivan. I think you corroborated Valentina's statement that it is the industry which should be the driver and guide the academia towards taking more initiative and driving the acceleration of the digital skills. I hope you've been taking notes, because there have been some really juicy details in what Ivan was elaborating, and I think some of the instruments can or should be easily replicable in other companies in either telco industry or whatever industry you are in. And I think, Ivan, I understand you're open for a Q&A after the session with anyone if you care about learning more details, and it's valid for everyone, obviously, on the stage right now. And while we are at juicy details, let's go to Zana Tabaku, who is on her home turf. So thank you, Zana, for being one of the amazing hosts here for all of us. I've been thinking, if my understanding is right, Kosovo has one of the youngest populations, not only in the West Balkans, but in Europe overall. And my understanding as a potential investor then would be, okay, so I'm going to leave the mature markets. There is anyways not enough employees, let alone young employees. So what should we be doing? Should we all be relocating our digital businesses here? Or do you have some statistics that could help us understand that, make decisions?
Yes, you should definitely relocate here. Okay, so I'm very honored to be in this panel and to be among you guys. Thank you for coming, since I'm the host. Yes, as you mentioned, Kosovo has youngest population in Europe. 34% of population is under 18, and 60% of population is under 35. Unfortunately, this year I became part of the other 40%, so I'm over 35. And I see the audience is mostly in the 40%. But yeah, we have a great potential. We have great talent here. We have eager youth, and we are tackling this issue in order to orient them in digital skills and in ICT sector. I have to brag about our ICT sector a bit. ICT sector is one of the biggest and most growing sectors in the Kosovo. We have over 700 ICT companies. There are over 20,000 people employed in ICT companies. Also, the gender balance is very good compared to the region, compared to Europe, even compared to US. Since in our country there are over 30% of women in ICT sector. That's why I have to brag about. But still, we need intervention in formal education, as Valentina also mentioned, because there is a mismatch between what universities are offering and what companies are needing. As companies and also as a Kosovo ICT Association, we tried tackling this issue by creating different programs, different projects to make these students able for a workforce. What was the other question? Because I'm on this 40% part.
I actually forgot to introduce you properly. Now, Zana was a little bit bragging about the ICT industry sector here in Kosovo. And there is a conflict of interest. She comes from the ICT sector. Zana is actually a co-founder of a very successful software development company, AppDAC. And with that having happened some time ago, let's not discuss the details.
13 years ago.
She's also one of the first women entrepreneurs in Kosovo in digital business. So when you brag about the ICT sector in Kosovo, I think it comes from the right person. Let's put it that way.
Well, I cannot brag about myself, but I'm bragging indirectly.
Great, great. Zana, do you want to add something, or can I ask Gabriela something that I had on mind?
Yeah, you can continue. We can continue.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Thank you. Now, Gabriela, I think all of us here are very focused on the topic of entrepreneurship, and then also on women in business and supporting young people in the companies, etc., etc. But Gabriela has another very hot topic which deals with, which we haven't yet mentioned, and I would like it mentioned because it sort of doesn't go without the digital skills and what we have been discussing and the technology transfer. And really, our planet will not go without it, let's put it that way, to make it more dramatic. It's circular economy. And I would really like to know, and share it with our audience, your perspective on what's the relationship between the digital skills and the circular economy?
When we say about circular economy, You know, people say it's not the right time to start doing that. We have a lot of challenges. We haven't resolved many things when it comes to our economical development. So that's far-reaching goals for us. But you know, my motto in life all the time since the beginning of my career, and I will not say when that happened, same as Zana. So it is that we need to start sometime, and we need to, why not start now? I mean, we cannot wait. It will always be a certain crisis. There will always be something happening out there. And if we wait for the perfect moment for anything in life, including circular economy, building skills about it, talking about it, elevating the discussion in the Western Balkan region, I think the time is now. We have to catch up. As Roberto mentioned, digital green transition. It's the digital twin. We cannot talk about digitalization only and not talk about green skills. Can we reach circular economy? Maybe not at the moment, but can we talk about green skills? Definitely. Can we start with green skills? Definitely. And when you ask me how it is related to to the digital transition, to put it simple, we need to think two directions, how digital solutions or software solutions or automation or robotics can help us in reducing our footprint and moving us closer to circularity, and vice versa. How we can work with, for instance, hardware companies from the IT sector that also need to go to circular, that also use very valuable raw materials and resources. So it's a bit complex, but we need to start, and we need to start with the new generations. And that's why we decided to start a circular economy accelerator program this year, and we were very, very lucky, and we are very proud that we were supported by the EBRD in this process, and it focuses mainly on young people and on both aspects, how we can make circular economy solutions that are digitally based, or how we can improve the circularity of manufacturing processes. So it's in the process. So we are working, the standard acceleration program with training. There will be a pitching at the end. And the idea is to just elevate the discussion around it, to create resources. We still lack resources in national language when it comes to circular economy. So we try to produce online courses, guides for companies, because it's a bit different when we talk about different sectors. So the idea is just to start thinking about it and working around it, and I'm sure that at a certain point all of this will result in something very, very valuable. Just don't wait for the right moment. It will never happen as such, like everything else is resolved, and now we can talk about green. No, it's the right time always to talk about green. So that's why digitalization for me goes hand in hand, not just because the European Commission or the others are saying it's a digital twin, no, because it's a natural thing to do.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. So in case you didn't pick it, the time is now, or was yesterday, a few days ago, years. Anyways, the time is now. But similar, like we discussed for the industry engagement and the industry having also the responsibility for pushing the agenda of the digital skills, it's the same urgency with this topic. Now, Zana, I wanted to ask you, what are the specific good practices that because you employ also quite a lot of people, not as many as Ericsson, Nikola Tesla, but let's hope you get there. What are the specific good practices that you use in your company, or that you are aware that some of the partners, suppliers that you work with use in their companies that help you upgrade the digital skills of your potential employees or your current employees?
Before COVID, it was a bit easier in gaining talent and retaining talent. But after COVID, there was a lot of change in the sector, because now they all can work remotely. They can all work for international companies. So we have some practices. Each company has their practices in developing their staff. For example, in my company, we usually target students, mostly students on the third year or the last years of studies. And we take them as the interns. We provide them with technical know-how, how they should operate in the company, and they become employees. Also, there are a lot of other projects, other trainings organized by different organizations, the different donors also by government organizations. I have to mention one that I created myself and I'm very proud of. It was called Junior Geeks. I created it with two of my colleagues, Shpen Lila and Eldita Tarane. So the idea of Junior Geeks was to orient youth in studying computer science. Because traditional professions such as economy or law, there are a lot of students out there, but we have a less percentage in computer science. So that was a huge success, and it followed with Junior Geeks too. And I'm proud to say that out of all 400 students, 50% of them went to ICT studies, so it had a huge impact. Also, I know for a fact that other companies in my field, they have all tailored programs for their staff when they receive interns. Also for all their staff to advance in different technologies.
Amazing. Really, really nice to hear about the impact that individual companies, individual players are having in the ecosystem and the system overall.
Sorry, I also have to add, because I forgot.
Junior Geeks 3.
Yes, of course. But that we're going to do with the government. I had to mention that the youngster that opened the speeches today, she was part of Junior Geeks. So, yeah, that was our success.
Great, thank you for sharing this with us. Ivan, I wanted to, I've read in the media, and then also you shared something, but I would like to hear the details, and I'm sure the audience would really like to know, what is it that Ericsson Nikola Tesla are doing or are planning to do in the West Balkan 6 countries, specifically in Kosovo and Bosnia and Herzegovina, if I remember right?
Yeah.
And what impact do you expect for your company, but then also for the countries?
Well, let me tell you a story. Last Friday we had a closing ceremony of this summer camp that I mentioned, where all the students presented the projects. And I was listening to a student presenting his project and final outcome. And in the end, I asked him, where are you from? And he said, from Kosovo. I said, no way. He said, yes, I'm going to Kosovo in a couple of days. He said, no way. Let's have coffee. I said, I'm going to definitely tell that to the audience first. Second, do you know that we have a job opening in Pristina for R&D? He said, yes, I do. And I said, you're welcome to the Ericsson Nikola Tesla, and I'm happy to be working with you in the future. So this short story tells you a little bit what we are doing. So basically we have a cooperation here with the university, not quite as intense or in-depth such as the ones in Croatia, but we have also with universities in Bosnia and other countries. We have you mentioned Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have an office there as well in Sarajevo. We have, besides the university cooperation, we have, as I mentioned right now, a couple of job openings in the office in Pristina, to the end that this guy doesn't necessarily need to come to Croatia. He will stay here. And that's basically how this works for us best. And the third thing that I would like to mention and refer to is digital innovation hubs. We have expressed our interest to join one here as well, where I believe that horizontal transfer of technology is really important. The technology areas that you mentioned will be, of course, be cornerstones of the future, and us as a technology company, we take technology quite seriously. So at all times we maintain a technology radar. We look what are the technologies that are coming, what are now, what are obsolete, in order to be able to choose the right ones for the future. Because you can make a lot of wrong choices. Like you can start a project with a technology that becomes obsolete in 2 years, and it's very hyped right now. And then you have a problem. So we don't want to do that. That's why we take it really, really seriously. And I'm painfully aware what happens if you miss a technology and catch it late. Then it quite literally doesn't make any sense to invest anymore. It's much better to partner with somebody or to make a horizontal transfer of technology, as you said. And that's why we also participate in these digital innovation hubs in various research projects where we can show what we can do when we are given a chance with our technology and know-how. So that's basically.
Thank you, Ivan. But keep your mic open. I do not want to inspire anyone to do criminal offenses, but you were just mentioning that you are tracking the new technologies which are up and coming. So some insider trading, could you share with us what technologies we should bet on? But we won't tell anyone about it. Swear to God. Right?
That's a question for me.
Yeah. We can also do it in private, no. But you know it's unfair to whisper in public. So
once I was told that if somebody is telling you he knows what's going to happen in 5 years in IT, he's either a manager or a consultant. And I have a history of being both, so don't believe me. But, but I must say that the technologies were correctly identified. There are different perspectives how you look at it. Cybersecurity as an area, it's not a technology, but you know, it should be there somewhere up there. It depends from what angle are you looking at. I think that we should be looking at the angle, what exactly are we missing? Where are we not good as a society? And do more there. Since in the area of AI, I think in the EU you have right now around 2,000 startups who are working in AI. So maybe that's a nascent area that doesn't need so much support. But you know, the technologies are there, and there are of course many different others to talk about. It's a completely different panel.
Thank you very much, Ivan. I was just hoping for some tips. You're satisfied with what you got? You know where you're going to invest, huh? Okay. Valentina, when would a young person, how did you call it, a junior geek or a less junior geek, when would a young person be able to say, okay, now I'm digitally skilled, so you know, let's move on? When does it stop?
Well, unfortunately or fortunately, I would say never. Actually, it's a whole life process. And that is something that I believe it's also very important to be emphasized, because all of that we are dealing now on this panel and this topic is very serious. As Ivan said, it's very serious. Gaining knowledge and applying the knowledge in a real field. I would just share a kind of a story. When 30 to 40 students of Faculty of IT in Podgorica were asked in which area they would like to work if they could choose. We were all expecting, you know, developers, testers, analytics, and so on, digital marketing, it's very famous. And 10% of them said something similar, but the remaining 90% were saying, if you could imagine, they were saying, I do not plan to do anything about ICT in the future. So the logical question was, why did you choose this faculty at all? And that is, I believe, very important topic that we have to consider in this, when we are talking about these skills. It's not about gaining skills and working afterwards and maybe to enable our ICT guys to really stay in Montenegro and Croatia in other areas. But this, let's say, instant way of thinking of the youngsters. You know, I want everything, I want it now and in very short period and full stop. Meaning, I want to be educated for 3 or 4 or 5 years and that's it. And unfortunately, that's not the topic, especially when we are talking about the ICT because of the technology and everything. So I believe that we have also, in parallel somewhere, to all that we are now mentioning, somehow to have this stream to try and to start to change mindsets of our youngsters and also those that would like maybe to change their way, what they are doing, or to start to become being ICT experts, to be aware of two things. It is continuous process and the whole life process, unfortunately, and you have all the time to learn, to unlearn, and to relearn. And that is the quote that I really like. That is not something that I invented, but I really am fully for it. And I would like that all of us, from our perspective, from our areas, each small portion to try to change those mindsets. And I believe that's the only way how our youngsters could be empowered to work in ICT era. Nevertheless, that they are aware that it is totally and the most demanding era that in the moment. Mainly that's it. Sorry.
Thank you very much. It's, I think this matter, this issue lies very close to your heart. So I thank you for being very adamant about it. And the way you described the youngsters, that they want it all, they want it, happening right now. It reminds me of a very nice anecdote when a person is praying to God. Oh God, give me patience right now. So be aware of that when you start hiring the people who want it all, want it right now, which is good. It goes with the young age. But I think we who are equally young have an obligation to understand that and to work with them on that. We haven't mentioned, and I would like to hear your view about mobility. But mobility in terms of people and upgrading the skills, especially with young people, when we allow them mobility. So we talked about the four big perspectives that Roberto shared with us, the connectivity, robotics, AI, and big data. But then we didn't mention, I think, at all the softer part, how we get it. And Ivan inspired me for this because he was mentioning a young person from Kosovo who, where was this summer camp, by the way? Was it in a beautiful island? Because then we all apply for next summer.
No, it was it was very similar to the room Beethoven that we have here, just without people sitting on the floor. But you have students with whiteboards showing their projects. You just enter and you pick a couple of projects that are interesting to you. It was by pure chance that I chose this guy.
I was hoping for an island in Croatia, but we can still apply next year.
We were thinking about that, yes.
Okay.
As you can imagine, it was a fun brainstorming session.
Can we vote and then you have to accept the vote of the audience, that sort of stuff? Okay.
We should do that definitely.
Good. Ivan, I think you might be in the position to best answer this question, as you're in an international company. So how do you perceive, or how do you encourage your employees, going perhaps to the main R&D center in Sweden to work? Do you get the thing that you were hoping for? Is there knowledge transfer happening?
Oh, for sure, for sure. We have such things. Actually, I think my first 2 years of my career I spent as a software developer in Sweden and Finland. So it was a very steep learning curve for me, and it's been part of the. We don't really need a program for that. It happens quite naturally. I think that's part of what I believe is important here, since we are in such a fast-growing industry with companies that are explosively growing. I think that there is room for imbalance and not enough room for. Not enough time for structured learning and setting up all the models that are needed to develop one's career. In our company, I think that since we have started more than 17 years ago as a small company developing switches, telephone exchanges, and transformed ourselves 2 times at least into an exporter of knowledge and ICT solutions. During that time, I think that we have found time and made it part of our DNA to make enough time and room for each employee to talk about his career development and the knowledge that he needs and how he can grow into somebody who will be, of course, most efficient for the company and develop new innovative solutions and services for the market. I believe that this is an important differentiator for us, and that's actually the thing that we get quite a lot as a follow-up comment from the students that get employed in our company, that they recognize this and that they would recommend us as an employer of choice to their colleagues just because of that.
Thank you very much, Ivan. So for all the big companies out here, employer branding, you just heard what Ivan said. If you didn't pay attention, ask him after the panel. I think he will share. It's actually a very valid point, and I think all the businesses that I worked with apply very similar systems. Gabriela, I wanted to ask you what your view on mobility is, or is there any other perhaps aspect or component that we have not mentioned and that we should be aware of and put it in our strategic plans, daily practices, etc., etc.?
Oh, I always say, regardless if we talk about young people, women entrepreneurs, I always say, don't fix the women, don't fix the youngsters, fix the system. Fix the system. That is something that I always try to think of that way, because my perspective is from the ecosystem perspective. So I always tend to think on how we as an ecosystem can improve our services, how we can support companies with technology watch, how something that is relevant for them, how we can diversify our services, advisory, innovation, technology transfer services, or whatever, innovation services. So it's on that part as innovation and business service providers, but also how we can do better as a policy, how we can do better as a program. We have the Western Balkan Digital Agenda. We have many different initiatives. I would just like to mention that we should focus a little bit more on skills and jobs. And I would emphasize as a good practice the European Commission Grant Coalition on Digital Skills and Jobs, because it's a good practice in a sense that it is cross-cutting several relevant DGs, and it showcases how it should be tackled from different perspectives. And that is something that we would like to see in our own countries. We do something like that similar. We have a National Council for Digital Transformation, but it is more on the public services, how we can, improve our public services and make them more digital, but we need more that on skills. Just to avoid the skills mismatch and just to, address, and if I may add, what we are missing is the inclusiveness, because when we talk about digital skills, we usually have, a stereotype how that person is looking like, what kind of a skill set has, and what about the digital skills of other people that don't have that background. And I liked what Zana said, but that's not the case in many countries, the gender digital divide. It is a fact, it has been shown by the figures that Roberto shared with us. We do have the gender digital divide, so inclusiveness and gender digital divide, and the grand coalition around the topics of skills and jobs. And I think that as an ecosystem, that's a very good starting point, whereas the industry should push a little bit more and, demand such things, because they are filling the budgets of the government. So we are obliged to deliver certain types of services that will serve them and be tailored to their needs, not what we think it should be delivered, but what is really needed, as Ivan mentioned, on the ground. So that would be my key message if I need to add something to what is already, because there has been a lot of things going on, but I think that we are lacking these certain aspects.
Thank you, Gabriela. This was really amazing and very informative. Zana, we mentioned you now a lot due to the great things that you are doing. In your words, in your opinion, what should the industry leaders here and development agencies and the experts from the startup ecosystem and the entrepreneurs, what would you advise them to start doing right now to accelerate the acquisition of digital skills?
So as a young nation, talent is everywhere, but opportunities are not. And as industry leaders, we are working together in order to enable them those opportunities. However, we need bigger cooperation with development agencies, with the Ministry of Education, so more and more youth can have access to those opportunities. And I'm talking about other cities rather than in Pristina, because Pristina is a capital city, and most of the events and most of the opportunities are happening here. So we need to expand in all out Kosovo, and to give them those opportunities. I would have to add a quick division on digital skills levels, as digital skills are divided in core digital skills, which are programming, analytics, database, etc. And also we have basic digital skills, so computer literacy, cybersecurity. So also I would suggest to partner agents and to government to do more opportunities on delivering idea of digital skills and of cybersecurity, especially cybersecurity, because there is a lot of things going on with cyber attacks, and there is an interesting statistics. 240,000 passwords are stolen in a day. So youth has to know where are they putting their passwords, how should they interact with the world. So basically, we need more cooperation with industry, with NGOs, with the government, in order to deliver these opportunities.
Thank you, Zana. I really liked the way you started. Talent is everywhere, but opportunities are not. So we have to spend. I can put it on Twitter, right? Oh, okay. You didn't trademark it. Valentina. So we had Ivan, who discussed mobility and how much it helps the steepness of the learning curve, and this is where we want to be. This is where we want our young people to be. And Gabriela discussed a lot about inclusiveness and about closing the gender digital divide. And I liked the expansion that Zana was focusing on. What would be your message for our audience? What should they do? What should they focus on? What should we all focus on? It's not them versus us, it's us.
Well, I believe that we should focus as economies on a balance, what is our demand and what we are producing. So I believe that this strategy on each level should be prepared in a way that all the stakeholders are involved. I believe that that is very important, because we are somehow used to make some strategies, some action plans, you know, by just one stakeholder, and somehow forgetting, or it's not so easy to involve all of them. And if we do not have our, let's say, telecom way speaking, voice of a customers, we cannot produce. You know, if I'm preparing, or in a startup, let's say, words, if I am developing a product for everyone, most probably I am preparing product for none. So demand is the one that is generating our requirements. So I believe that good balance between demand is very important. And again, we can't forget that we are small markets, or I can now focus on Montenegro, it's small markets. So I believe that our youngsters should not be so specialized as a funnel that you saw. They should be a kind, let's say, a broader expertise in order to be applicable in more areas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valentina. Now, I've got good news and I've got really awesome news. The good news is that we are finishing in 2 minutes, or even less. And the awesome news is that we will ask every one of our panelists today to sum up what you were telling us, or to really synthesize what you would like us to leave the room with in one sentence, or 2 sentences, but don't make it 3, I'm going to count. So, something that you would really like each and everyone in this room to tweet, or to leave the room with, or to tweet, or to put on their LinkedIn, or to put, you know, perhaps as a poster in your office or wherever you're based, and think about it. Gabriela, do you feel like starting? Well, yes or no, you do.
That's a difficult task, but let's...
Then we will ask the audience, huh? Then you also have to think of this, so... I'm kidding, yeah.
I liked, if I can summarize, picking up from what my colleagues, panelists mentioned, I like the idea of lifelong learning. Never stop working on yourself. It doesn't matter if you're a company, if you're an individual or an ecosystem. Continuous improvement is the key. Never let anyone tell you you cannot do it. You can always do it. When I started, I started to work with a big Scandinavian research company. Nobody expected that, but I did it. So never let anyone tell you that it's not doable. And let's not think that we are small, that we are, you know, like... Yeah, but it's in one. It's in one. I never stopped, you know.
Thank you, Gabriela. I was really counting.
I will stop now. Have a nice day in Pristina.
Ivan, your 2 cents, your piece of wisdom.
Well, of course, I would like to sum it all up, but I would also like to follow up on what you said before about the demand, because this analogy about marketing very much resonates to me in this kind of problems. And I was thinking, there is a country where the biggest ICT company is a games producer. So, of course, their demand is for ICT specialists that develop nice user interfaces. So the question is whether we should, like as a society, invest in developing those competencies when 500 out of 1,000 students will, after finishing the school, go to this gaming company. An analogy would be like investing in producing 1,000 doctors, and then half of them goes to some kind of plastic surgery, and then you die at the table one day. So it's a very interesting point that you are making about the demand. It's just a question of which partner will you choose, you know, who will you listen to about what is the demand. My message would be, if you have certain questions about technology or solutions in ICT, choose the right partner.
If you have questions, choose the right partner. Thank you very much, Ivan. Now, Valentina, you get a special bonus if you're down to 2 sentences.
No, but I'm fully focused 1. I should have 2 now. Huh?
No, if you have 1, you get extra total.
I would just
coffee on Valentina.
Okay, I would just let's say conclude with a quote, not mine, but still a quote. The illiterate. Do we say it? Illiterate. A person in this digital era will not be the one who does not know to read and write, but the one that does not know to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Thank you.
Special bonus for you. Now, Zana, you have to beat Valentina. There you go.
I just made the tweet. Talent is everywhere, opportunities are not. So I don't think Ivan and Gabriela have Twitter. They exceeded the tweet.
Digitally unskilled.
Yeah. So again, talent is everywhere and opportunities are not. So we need to cooperate more in order to give those opportunities to as many places as possible.
This is awesome. And you've been awesome. Thank you so much. I'm really sorry that we are out of time. I'm really sorry that we don't have an opportunity for a Q&A session in this big plenary setting. But do get closer to any of the panelists, to Roberto, who gave us a keynote speech, and let's chat or tweet.